This is the Hunt Quietly podcast. I'm Matt Rinella. Are you in your garage?
I'm in my garage, yeah. You can't hear the little heater going, can you?
No.
Okay. I got a little heater. It barely has a little tiny fan in it. So as long as you can't hear it.
Oh, I couldn't be in my garage with a little tiny heater right now. It's 30 below.
I mean,
It
there's
is.
there's
It's 30 below.
there's good things about living in where I live in California, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. This time of year, hell yeah.
So
I just got back from Africa, so it's kind of a shock.
yeah, how was Africa, Kenya, right?
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
I'd give it a C plus.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you might like it a little bit better than that.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is where I'm at in my life that made it hard to enjoy. Um, I mean, I'm a beleaguered federal employee,
Yeah.
and just spending that kind of money felt. I have a kind of a Midwestern orientation to finances, like a old school. Don't spend more than you have. Put some away for a rainy day kind of a perspective.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have gone on this trip except it was important to my wife. And I'll start out by saying that let's say that I'm grading it on education. I mean, I'm grading it on enjoyment.
Sure.
Okay. When I give it a C plus. If I was to grade it on educational content, then I'd give it an A.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Yeah.
I like when I go to our cabin in the summer in
Hmm.
Alaska, usually give that someplace somewhere between a B plus and an A. Um, and that's in terms of enjoyment. If I were to grade going to the cabin in terms of educational content, I'd give it an F because I've been going there for over 20 years. I'm not learning anything new there,
Right.
you know? Um,
Well, so educationally, like what'd you learn? Like what'd you learn? I mean, you said you give it an A educationally.
oh, just seeing those animals,
Uh-huh.
you know, and and if you were to give me a quiz if you showed me pictures of half the animals I saw over there, I wouldn't have known what they were called.
Right.
So my animal ID improved over there. And then, when I think of a Maasai herders,
Uh-huh.
when you're on safari, I'm thinking like you're out 100 miles from the nearest structure, and here comes a small band of Maasai coming through with their cattle. But it's
Right.
not like that at all. We're hanging out very close to towns, small, very impoverished towns. A lot of these herders, they bring their cattle back to their village every night and then walk them out into the grasslands to feed during the day.
Right.
And then if it's too grazed down near their village and they got to go further, then they'll erect a little fence and put all their cattle on the fence every night. They can't leave them out because they'll get eaten by something.
It's just a hard life, you know? Like could you imagine that?
Oh, yeah, boring as hell. just day after day after day, like walking along with your cattle.
Following cattle around.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and just super poor. I, they were the company we were with, they were catering to us in a way that made me kind of uncomfortable. Like every tent, my wife and I, there was 12 guests or something like that. And there was 2 guests to a tent, and every tent had a dude assigned to it that did everything for you. Brought water to wash your hands, filled up your shower. It's like a big bag that they put water in, then you go take a shower. Woke you up in the morning, washed your shoes, you know.
Whoa, that's trippy.
I'd never want another man to wash my shoes, but it makes freaking sense because it it's a livelihood for those people.
Yeah,
They're geniuses to preserve their wildlife so that
yeah,
uh, people will come from all over the world to look at it, and they can. It just there's a lot of jobs around it in terms of taking people out and catering to people that when they're on safari. They
yeah.
outlawed hunting in the 60s, and it was freaking smart because as poor as that country is, it would be a hell of a lot poorer if they hadn't preserved their wildlife.
They outlawed hunt in Kenya. They outlawed hunting in the 60s.
Yeah, there's zero hunting in Kenya.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. I have never been interested in going to Africa to go hunting, so I've never even looked into it. I have no idea what the rules are or regulations or how anything works over there.
Um,
Um,
no, and I didn't either. I don't have, like you. I have zero interest in going over there to hunt. Like,
I think I know one person that went over there probably 15, 20 years ago to go hunting. And I know another person that went over there for a like
what
a
country did
full.
he go to?
I want to say, man, I don't even want to guess because I don't want to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, one that allowed hunting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. He he's it's a good friend of the family, and he went, and he kind of had the impression that it was an interesting experience, but didn't need to do it again.
I
And I
know a
had
few
another.
people that do it almost every year.
Whoa, I can't. I can't even fathom that.
Yeah. Here's the thing with me. It's like I have an intimate relationship with the animals I hunt. I study their habits. I find places to go out and hunt them.
Yeah,
I learn their ways. I just can't imagine going over to another continent, following some dude around and having him point me out something and like, oh, there's a Gems buck. I've never seen one of them before. I guess I'll kill it. You know,
yeah,
it's just not in any way remotely connected to why I hunt.
yeah.
Uh, and I kind of struggle with this narrative that if it wasn't for hunting, all these animals would go extinct. You know that narrative, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. I mean, I haven't fleshed that out enough to really like have an informed opinion on it, but I have heard that, and I've thought about it in the past a little bit, and I mean, part of it seems to kind of make sense, and then but the other part of it logically seems kind of odd. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody that is way more knowledgeable than I am on it that could explain it to me and make it make sense. And I mean, I kind of get where the idea, right? And I mean, I'm really talking like off the cuff here, but like the idea is that money coming in from hunting is providing the funds needed to have the protections, to have the game agencies and game wardens and things like that to protect the animals. Is that I mean, that's kind of the way it was explained to me.
Yeah, but well, Kenya's a case study in
Yeah,
that in like and that demonstrates that's not necessarily. People will pay good money just to come over and look at them.
Yeah, yeah, and because I have another family friend that went over to Africa for 2 week, 3 weeks just to do a photo safari,
Oh,
and they're not even they're not even like a photographer. It was like it not like a professional photographer or anything like that. They just wanted to go over and ride around and look at cool animals and have different experience.
yeah, I saw a lot of people. So I was confined to a Jeep and my wife was on horseback. Every other guest except me was on horseback.
I, I okay. So I will. I listened to the podcast you did with Jim Durkin,
Okay.
and you guys kind of talked about this. That would have been before you went,
Before I went, yeah.
and you mentioned that, and I will have to say I did chuckle a little bit when I heard that you were not allowed to get on horseback. So I was wondering how that was going to play out.
Oh, it was a little
So
emasculating to say the least, Um, eh, so what I was going to say though is we would see other Jeeps, other people out looking at the animals all the time. And man, I've never seen cameras like what some of these people had cameras look like a freaking bazooka.
yeah, yeah.
Just
Yeah, those lenses are like $15,000-$20,000. Yeah.
yeah, 3 feet long, 10 inches around, and people kept giving me shit because they're all taking pictures in our group, taking tons of pictures, and they were giving me shit about, why aren't you taking any pictures? I'm like, do you people understand? I could go home and watch thousands of hours of footage of these species of animals and look at thousands of pictures that are way better than anything you people are going to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
And a lot of these people spend more time looking through their camera than they actually do looking at the animal.
That is an interesting that is interesting. You think about sometimes when you go on trips, you go, I'm gonna take all these photos, I'm gonna do this, and maybe the first day or two you kind of do that. But then I mean, at least me, I kind of catch myself just being like, I just want like I just want this moment, this memory of this moment. Like I don't
Right.
need to take a picture of it. I just wanna be in this place at this time, and experience it through my eyes, not through the cell phone camera or
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that drove me nuts is they wouldn't let me hike around. And they made it, because that I'm going to get trampled by a Cape buffalo or eaten by a lion or
oh, I mean,
crushed
they
by a
wouldn't let you.
hippo.
How long? Like, so if they stop,
I
say
was
you,
trapped. I was
so,
trapped.
so say we, we stop the jeeps and I don't know if are the horses like with the jeeps or are they kind
No,
of
no.
okay?
I was hanging out with these two dudes and they'd kind of buzz me around all day
Yeah.
and the horses would go do their thing. And they'd move
So
camp. They moved camp every other day or so. There's like 30 staff. They would move everything, all the tents, all the showers, all the shitters. They'd bury like the shitter holes. They'd fill them in and go dig new ones.
yeah.
It was amazing the amount of work that went into moving that camp.
Okay. So when you're cruising around in the jeep with these two guys, and they're and they pull up, say you pull up, you see some animal and they pull up and stop and you guys are checking it out.
Uh-huh.
If you were to hop out of the jeep, how far would you get before they're like, get back? Oh,
Oh,
come here.
immediately.
Oh, really? It
Oh,
wasn't even like
yeah.
it wasn't even like, hey man, I gotta take a leak. Can I,
Oh, they
like
would
no,
let
no.
you go 5 feet from the Jeep, probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But man, no, they would not let you go on a hike. Here's the thing, and there's Maasai herders all over the place, and they're hiking around every fucking day, all year round, you know? So I just felt trapped. Another thing that drove me quite crazy is when we'd see something really cool, like the cats. We saw two groups of lions, one cheetah, and one leopard. And
Oh,
when
that's good.
And when we saw all that stuff, oh, that stuff was cool. When we saw that stuff,
Yeah.
the horse people were in the Jeeps. The horse people would be in the Jeeps sometime. Like they would ride during the day and then in the evening we'd all go out Jeep riding together. But we'd buzz up to it. Those cats let you get right next to them. They don't care about vehicles at all. As a matter of fact, they kind of use the vehicle to their advantage. Like we went up to these serval cats, and there was a mom and two kittens, and the kittens went underneath it and just hung out underneath it for a long time. And then a leopard went underneath the Jeep one time. Like we pulled up right next to it. It's like they think of those Jeeps as part of the landscape. But we'd see it whenever we saw something. Like I always get real excited when I see something. And I'll go. And I'm kind of loud anyway. And I'm like, whoa! And they're like, I'm like, we just fucking drove up to the thing. It knows we're here.
Yeah.
They're all like whispering and like, yeah, getting mad at me because I'm being too loud.
So what if they view the Jeeps as like not a thing? They're whatever. It's a whatever. I like my concern is if they won't let you like kind of go for a little walk, but there's this like string of walking T-bones horses with people on
Yeah,
top. Like is there like what kind of concern is there for the horses or the people?
yeah.
Like
Here's the thing. Everybody was excited to be there. It was this very positive experience for everybody. So I didn't want to cause waves by telling them that I thought it was bullshit, you know?
yeah. Yeah.
So
Makes
I was
sense.
like, this isn't my trip to begin with. It's my wife's trip. I'm not going to cause tension, but I just felt trapped. And then the flights. Have you ever been on an overseas flight?
I have been, let's see, the farthest flight I've ever been. When we went to Ireland, that's the furthest I've ever been in Ireland.
Oh,
So we went from California to Dallas, and then we went from Dallas to actually went to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam to Dublin.
okay. Yeah.
So,
We
but
had
I know that
a 12-hour flight followed by an 8-hour flight. There is nothing worse than like looking at the time and realizing you've been on the plane for 8 hours and you
yeah.
still have 12 hours to go.
Oh, dude, yeah, yeah. I don't. So where did you fly out of? And then like where was the connector at?
Oh, we went from Salt Lake to Amsterdam to Nairobi.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Also, I had some shit stuck in my ear for like a month. I thought I had an ear infection. And then it just felt a little stuffy. And then the day we go, I stick a Q-tip in there. I'm like, I'm going to clean out my ear. Of all days, the day we're leaving. And I push something way back in there. And all of a sudden, I can't hear out of my right ear at all. Completely deaf in my right ear. And it must be my good ear because I kind of felt 90% deaf overall. Um,
Well, let me guess. When you got back, you didn't immediately go to the doctor. You're just dealing with it still?
no, 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 no. When we landed I immediately knew what it was when I put it. You ever see those earplugs? They're like the consistency of putty.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So I stupidly, like I broke one of them in half and put one half in each ear instead of the whole one in. It was an austerity measure on my part. But it didn't turn out to be very austere because it ended up costing me some money. So that's just too small then, so it goes way in there.
Yeah.
So when we landed in Salt Lake, I went to the urgent care there, and that guy tried to pull it out and messed up my ear royally. It was bleeding, and it just he scratched it all up.
Oh. Oh, that's not good.
No, so when we got to Nairobi, I had to get surgery. They had to put me under and take it out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Well, that's an adventure. Like,
yeah. I'm
you know.
I'm a big fan of their the medical community there. They're very professional. They did an awesome job.
Well,
Um,
I mean, that's what you always worry about, right? Going to another country and and being unsure of the medical,
yeah,
situation, and then having something happen, and then you're just at the will of whatever they got.
yeah, right. Well, yeah, and what they had there were, yeah, it was kind of crazy. The woman that operated on me, she's a Indian woman, and I go from her, I go from her office across the street to the hospital where she's going to meet me and do the surgery. And I meet the anesthesiologist, and he's an Indian dude. Turns out he's her husband.
Oh,
Really nice couple. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I just was really impressed with them. Uh, but oh, what was I going to say about that? Oh, that that didn't help the grade of the trip. Oh, here's what I was going to say. Guess what that cost?
oh, the surgery, in American dollars.
Uh huh.
Uh, I mean, I feel like it's either really, really low or really high based on how I'm gonna say, uh, less than $500.
Oh, what do you think it would cost in the U.S. if you went in and they had to put you under, take some crap out of your ear, and you didn't have insurance?
Oh, a, a few thousand, I would imagine.
I
Yeah,
would think 10 grand.
yeah. Five. I was gonna say like five, like on a low end. Yeah.
It was $1,200.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, and my insurance will cover it, but I just thought that was dirt cheap.
yeah.
You
I
know.
mean, I'm getting I gotta get a cat next week. I cracked my tooth. I had a filling pop out, and when it popped out, it actually broke away part of my tooth. So I went to the dentist, and the dentist was like, "Oh yeah, we got to put a cap on there." And then I think that's going to cost like 12 or 1,500 bucks, which I think insurance is going to cover half of it.
Mm,
So I mean, you basically that's about about the same as getting an ear surgery in Nairobi. You said right?
yeah. Then on the way home, I left my wallet in the Paris airport.
Do-
I did my indication that I had left my wallet, that I had lost my wallet, was landing in Salt Lake City on the way home, and my phone going off from various fraud departments.
oh,
That's how I that's how it dawned on me that I had lost my wallet.
that's not fun either. Losing your wallet, man, that's a pain. You got to replace everything in there.
Oh god, every 5 years I lose it.
You got to go. I, you, you might need to tie that thing to yourself.
I
I've never
used to
lost a
wear it,
wallet.
I used to have a chain drive.
Yeah,
Um
you might need to go back to that.
yeah, I think it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. It's a great idea. I'm going to get a chain driver. Um, so yeah, those are the reasons why it got a low score for me.
Well, how your wife? Now, how would she score the trip?
Oh, A plus.
Wow, see, there you go. I mean, it's all
Oh,
worth it then.
absolutely.
It's
And
all
it's a
worth
trip
it.
that'll age well, like the longer time goes on, the more fondly I'll remember it. But just to see her like enjoying it so much. I
Mhm.
told everybody on that trip, I said, you people do not even want to get in a competition to see who is going to have the best time because it's this woman right here, you
Yeah.
know? She, like in an environment like that, nobody's going to have a better time than my wife. She just loves crap like that. We were camped out by this river the first couple nights, and we're 50 yards from the river. You walk, not even 30 yards from the river. You go over to the river and look down, there's hippopotamuses everywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
See, now isn't that more dangerous? Wouldn't that be more camping next to a bunch of hippopotamus? You always hear they're like the number one killer in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that
It's
thing?
like I can't hike around where there could or could not be hippos, but I can
Yeah,
stand around where
yeah.
there clearly are lots of hippos.
And you can sleep in a tent. 30 yards from where they are. Yeah.
I went several days without seeing anything more than the top of their back. They don't come out of the water.
Yeah.
They're just in the freaking water until dark, and then they come out and graze in the dark.
Isn't that kind of it's almost like they're like a freshwater whale or something.
Yeah.
Animal that
Well,
like
they are real
lives in
closely
freshwater.
related to whales, I guess.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I saw one eating another one. I saw one eating a baby. Like it was fresh. Like it was shaking it in its mouth. There's blood coming out in the water.
Like, did it kill it
It
or?
had killed it.
Oh,
I guess they do
what?
that once in a while. Usually it's the males. They'll kill their another male's offspring,
So
that
it's
whole.
like, yeah, it's like a bear who might kill some cubs or whatever type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and they make a lot of noises,
Oh, I can imagine.
a lot of grunting and wheezing, and then when they shit, they wag their tail and spray it everywhere. You've seen
Yeah.
that?
Yes, I've seen. I think on Discovery or one of those programs where you see that where they do that and they just but I don't know that I've ever heard an explanation for it.
I can't imagine how many fecal coliforms have got to be in that river. I mean, those things just lay in there
Yeah.
shitting all day long. Yeah, how would anybody ever say? Like, you know what? I like to think about this once in a while. There's some questions that I can't imagine what observations one would have to make in order to figure out what the cause is. Like, how would you ever determine why he does that? Why he wags his tail when he shits?
I mean, I'm not the I mean, you're the scientist. I'm not the scientist. Like, you probably are more
Well,
equipped to answer that than me.
I'm just saying, what I'm saying is it's beyond science. It's like it's not a question that could be answered. I can't imagine an experiment you could do. You can't ask the hippo. And I can't imagine in the experiment one would do to figure it out.
Well, I guess there's got to be a way, through observation. There's got to be a way at some point to go to link them, right? Like, for instance, take two bucks, and they're going at it. They're locking horns. They're going at it. And like, if you're the first person to see that, you're gonna go, "What are they doing? Like, are they playing? What are they doing?" Right? But through observation, you might. I mean, it's a little bit easier, probably, right? But like, you then say, like, "Oh, this is like part of a breeding thing or whatever." It's a part of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
yeah,
I
at least
suppose.
I suppose through observation,
Maybe you could.
eventually things would come to light.
Let's say that the only way his colon fully opens up so that he can shit is if he lifts his tail and wags it. Then
Okay.
that would be explanatorily soothing if you learn that. Then you'd be like, okay, that's got to be why he does it.
Oh, I get it. It could be like a marking territory thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Okay, so that it's not just me bitching about my vacation for the entire episode. You did a little digging on uh on Realtree, the camo company, and and we're gonna spend a few minutes talking about what you found there. You mind if I set it up just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, one of the things in the hunting space that pisses me off most, that just seems most ridiculous, are these companies that take the money we give them for products and then use the money to commodify access. Access is the inner sanctum. It's the holy grail. Like without it, we don't have anything. You know, it seems like all hunting companies should be very focused on providing access and maintaining and restoring access. Instead, they're anti-access. Even the nonprofits are sometimes anti-access, like Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation funding leases for hunting celebrities so that they can make films for Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation elk hunting films and stuff like that. Even the nonprofits are often, there's other examples as well. Lots, but I won't go into them because I've talked about them so many times. But like so I think one thing that could really turn things around is if there was this cultural shift where the sportsmen said, "No, we're not gonna stand for companies. We're not gonna support companies that work against access." So Realtree turns out when you asked me, you were asking me like, what can I do to help, which I appreciate, and I thought they had their own real estate company, but you were saying that they don't. They just more or less sponsor a real estate company. Oh, hold on a second. You're um
Hold on.
all right, a technical glitch there, folks. Yeah, so you were saying, you were telling me that today that they don't actually own there's not a real estate division in Realtree.
No. So what they did was there's this company called United Country Real Estate, and United Country Real Estate licensed the Realtree brand, the Realtree name, to sort of attach to another arm of their real estate company called United Country Hunting. So it'll be like United Country Hunting powered by Realtree.
So is
But
United Country Hunting hunting real estate company prior to partnering with Realtree? Did
it's
they operate for a while, then team up? Or
so that I don't know. And
okay,
I did talk to a couple people over there, but they weren't. They weren't super interested in talking to me about sort of their business process. And I mean, I did learn a little bit, but they weren't really all that interested in talking to me about it. So, but basically, what it is like it's kind of like Realtree's other, their model they use with a lot of other things, which is that they license their patents, or they license their camo patterns or things like that to other companies to use. So in this case, they're licensing their name because they have a Realtree is a recognizable name in the hunting space. They license their name for you know for marketing and recognition purposes. It is what I was able to gather. So it's not, they started this partnership in 2019. They renewed the partnership, I think, in 2024, and it's really just, renewing partnership is really just relicensing the Realtree brand to attach to United Country.
so it must be that Realtree is such a widely known brand that this real estate company is just like, oh, we'll pay you to let us use your name.
Yeah, it's something like that, right? And then so the and I actually I looked into Whitetail Properties and Mossy Oak as well, and both of those entities have completely different, like all three have completely different models that they use. Like they're not they're similar in that they're in land, it's land speculation, but it's different. It's all completely different executions. So it's
Because
actually
with
pretty interesting.
Mossy Oak, it's the same company. They're just diversified.
It's
They
this. It's
have,
that like Mossy Oak owns Mossy Oak Properties,
right.
and how that started was back in the late '90s, like 1999. A friend of the owner of Mossy Oak, kind of they thought of this idea together to start this Mossy Oak property. So and he was that friend was he was in the land sale business or real estate business, and then they turned it into a franchising thing. So now you can be franchised. Like if I had a real estate company, I could apply for a franchise with Mossy Oak Properties.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little different. And then like Sitka with Whitetail Properties,
Okay, just for
basically,
the listening audience,
yeah.
Sitka is partnered with another real estate company, and probably in the same way that Realtree is, or part is partnered with what's the name? Country what country
United Country
with
Hunting.
United. So Sitka's partnered with Whitetail Properties, which is another real estate company and a TV show.
Yeah. And but what they do is they essentially are just like a sponsor. So it's not even like Sitka's Whitetail Properties, as far as I can tell.
Right.
They're just
Right.
a sponsor, and then Whitetail Properties has they have their agencies and their real estate agents and their land speculators and things like that. And then part of the deal is Sitka will provide those people with gear and equipment, and then the return on that is it's like part of research and development. So it's like complete. So it's a very each all three models are very different execution.
Okay. Uh yeah, it's like, why are we talking about this? We're probably just bringing them attention. They're gonna sell some property because of us talking about it.
Well,
But
I think go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know. It's uh it's a funny thing. I mean, I don't like it at all. I think that the hunting industry should be working on providing access, not commodifying it. But then on the other hand, I think um well, maybe these are places you wouldn't get to hunt anyway.
Yeah, I had that thought as well. When I'm doing the research, these are they're not converting public land that used to be open to everybody to private land, right? These are private ranches or private properties that were private before that they're being sold as private again, right?
But there you have better
Um,
chance when they're a working landscape. And when they're an active farm or ranch. During the 90s, the first company that I'm aware of this, now maybe not the first one, maybe Realtree or Mossy Oak was the first one, but no, maybe Realtree was the first one, but Cabela's was doing this for a long time too. Cabela's hunting properties. Matter of fact, my first piece of advocacy in the hunting space was in 1999 when I wrote them a letter telling them that I didn't appreciate them buying up land and subdividing it as exclusive hunting properties. Um, because they did that, they they bought a place that I used to hunt through the block
oh,
management program.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. See that? I mean, and that's that's kind of where I was going. Is like, maybe it would never have, maybe you would have never been able to hunt it before, right? But if it was under previous ownership, maybe someone was able to hunt it.
There's
Now
more
they
of a
can't
chance you'd be
because
able to hunt it when it was owned by a farmer or a rancher than when Mossy Oak comes along, buys the whole thing and subdivides it and sells it.
yeah. I mean, and I don't think neither one of us, you or I, we're not against. Well, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm not against private ownership. I don't want anyone to think I'm against private ownership
No,
of property or land. I think
no,
where the distinction we're trying to make is should should companies that sell hunting products to the general public be involved in the like private land sales that could potentially have people that have hunted a piece of property or a farm in the Midwest or wherever for years, see them pushed out because the commodification of that property due to the presence of whatever animal that's there you might want to hunt has increased the price of that property to where it's no like now it's more viable to sell it as a hunting property than to use it as a farming property.
right, right. Uh, yeah, it seems short sighted. I mean, most of the damage is already done now. I mean, in the Midwest, it's not like it's no longer the case that you can just go bang on somebody's door and go deer hunting.
Yeah, but is that, I mean, that's because most property owners now know that they can charge lease fees, right?
Yeah,
I
right,
mean, like
right.
even where I am in California, when I was a kid growing up, I mean, that wasn't like all, it's obviously not, you can't bang on everyone's door and get permission, but it was a lot more prevalent when I was a kid growing up than it is now. I mean, now, if you got most people, if they got pigs on their place or something like that, that they know they can sell, it's leased up by an outfitter. A lot of those places are. So,
Yeah.
places that would never historically have allowed hunting, for whatever reason, they're working cattle ranch or whatever, or maybe they would allow hunting, now they don't because, an outfitter comes in and says, "Hey, I'll pay you, this much percentage for every pig that gets killed, or every deer, whatever the case is."
Yeah.
But I think to your point, excuse me, I think to your point, there's something that doesn't feel quite right. There's kind of a bad smell in the air
Oh, yeah.
when you have companies like that are selling product to, and you use Cabela's. That's a great example, because they were taking your dollars and using it specifically to buy properties that were maybe in block management or other things, and then privatize that.
Yeah. You know how there's places in the world where you can buy up like beachfront property and nobody can go along the beach anymore?
Yeah.
Um, I think Mark Zuckerberg has a big place in Hawaii that you nobody can even access the ocean in front of it anymore. It'd be like
Right.
if it'd be like if a surfing company, that sold surfboards, bought up a
Hmm.
huge stretch of beach with a great, really nice break,
Right.
and then we're like, nope,
And
just
then
for
they're like,
us.
"Oh yeah, yeah, just our guys can go. Yeah, you can't go anymore." It sounds, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I mean, is it, you have to think, is it actually ridiculous, or is it kind of what has happened a little bit?
I don't know. Alls I know for sure is that the hunting industry should be looking out for the sportsmen.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean,
Not just in terms of making sure they have good products.
no. Well, you got to make sure, you want to. I mean, if you're in the hunting industry, you want to make sure that you're still going to have customers.
At least be neutral. How about that? I'll go that far
Yeah.
and say, don't do anything bad for hunting opportunity. Maybe you don't do anything good. Don't donate to access or conservation, Mr. Hunting Company, but at least don't make it worse.
So playing devil's advocate on that, like the argument would likely be that we're not making it worse. There's a private landowner who has a farm, and it's 100 acres, and he wants to sell that farm, and because he's got really big whitetails on it, he can sell it for a little bit more than what he could sell it as a farming property. So we're going to help him sell it as a hunting property, but it's going from private ownership to private ownership.
Just let people that don't sell hunting gear do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I agree.
Because this is just a betrayal of their fiduciary responsibility to the sportsman to get involved. I mean, the whole reason they have money to do that in the first place is because we bought products from them. It's just,
Right.
it's just tacky. It's just tacky.
Yeah.
What else did you
No.
learn about? You looked into the history of Realtree a little bit, right? Beyond just their real estate
Yeah.
enterprise.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get like too into the weeds on it,
Why
but
not?
well,
You don't like
because
the
we'll be here, we,
weeds?
we might be here for a long time.
Oh,
But I mean, it started in the mid 80s. And it started out with, like, developing camo patterns and then licensing that, and then they through the years have had a lot of camo patterns they've licensed.
it's owned by
And
Bill Jordan, right?
Bill Jordan, yeah, yeah, Bill Jordan's the owner.
I was
He
wondering
sold.
what he's like. I don't follow this crap at all, but I was like, oh, is he still alive? And I looked him up. He's still alive.
Yeah,
He just shot a moose.
yeah,
Could you
yeah.
imagine if the
He's
poor guy heard this podcast? He won't, but he'd be like, still alive?
yeah. No, I think he's doing fine too. I mean,
Oh, he looks
and
good. Looks
yeah, it
good.
looks good. Yeah. but the funny thing about Realtree is they started in that, and then in the early '90s is when they started doing their videos, right? Their hunting videos, and they had things like springtime monarchs and
What? Oh,
uh,
that's like a turkey hunting show.
I think so, yeah. And then
Did you watch all this stuff?
no, like I said, I mean, I don't think the podcast we recorded a few weeks ago hasn't come out yet. But like I said in that one, like
It's coming.
I've never really been into the turkey
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're not
thing
a
too
turkey
much. I
man.
mean, I've killed a turkey and stuff. I mean, it's it's just I don't know. I never really got into it as much, but and I've never hunted whitetails, but when I was a kid in the early '90s, I mean, watching the Monster Bucks videos, it was just so cool because it was like being in California, like you're never even. I'm never even thought I would even get close to seeing a whitetail. I
Where
remember the
did
first time.
spring? Where did spring monarchs and monster bucks air?
So the Monster Bucks were a series of videos. It was a
Oh,
series of
like you would
videos.
just buy a VHS
Yeah, yeah,
tape?
and yeah, and I used to. I remember I used to have the videos. Yeah,
How
I
old are
used to
you?
have. I'll be 38 in a couple months.
Oh, I would have thought that shit would be about for your like a form of media that comes on a little plastic tape would have been before your time.
No, no VHS. I mean, I remember we used to we upgraded our TV when I was a kid, and we had the V when I was probably like 10 years old, and we had the VHS player that was in the actual television set.
Okay, yeah, it was
Boy,
embedded.
I thought
Yeah,
we were walking
integrated.
across cotton when that happened, man. I was like, oh, we got a VHS player in the TV, man. We don't have a separate player now. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so you'd go to the video store and rent.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My dad and I, yeah, we'd go to the video store and rent VHS hunting tapes and stuff. Yeah, like the Real Tree ones and then the Eastman's ones and stuff like that. Oh yeah.
Okay.
We loved it. That was before the YouTube and all the other, stuff like that. And we didn't have cable. We had we had the little bunny ear thing. We get two or three channels and we had a VHS player. So
Yeah.
yeah. But I remember specifically watching the Monster Bucks videos, man, just like on almost like on repeat, and just hundreds of times. And it was, because it was just so like otherworldly to me to see these whitetails, and it was very captivating when I was a kid. And they were, I mean, to their credit, they were entertaining, individuals that were
They're
making.
funny.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was entertaining. So,
Hmm.
um, but
I have friends. Well, I have a couple friends that they when I met them, it was just all the Sportsman's Channel was always on at their
oh
house,
yeah,
always on, and I think because either they now turn it off because they know how much I hate it when I come over, or I've gotten through to them and they actually don't watch it anymore. It's hard to say which one it is.
I don't even remember the last time I even had the sports. We don't even have cable now. I mean, we use like Hulu or some of the other things, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, I haven't. I don't even remember the last time. I don't even know what airs on Sportsman's Channel anymore. I don't even know if Realtree has anything that airs, or I don't. Uh, I'm pretty out of the loop on that.
It's so weird, man, Nick. It's like it's so weird because you could think of that stuff as just being so innocuous. It's not a big deal. But then, so there's one time I says like my brain goes, "Oh, who cares if somebody wants to sit around and watch these douchebags whack deer, half tame deer, you know?"
Yeah,
And then the other hand, I just feel it in my bones that if hunting media had been confined to a couple magazines, print magazines, hunting access uh would and hunting itself would be so much better.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and uh, honestly, I feel like if hunting social media was a thing, but the main media, like the Sportsman's Channel, Outdoor Channel, was still a thing. But the social media, for whatever reason, just wasn't a thing anymore. I mean, I think that, I mean, my personal feeling on it is that's way more damaging than like Sportsman's Channel or Outdoor Channel,
Okay.
because they have
So
certain like,
if you were going to get rid of hunting Facebook and Instagram, hunting YouTube
yeah.
or hunting TV, I know you're not going to choose hunting TV, but what are the other two choices?
I can only pick two of them.
No, you only can pick one of the two.
Oh,
You just told me that
yeah.
you don't think of hunting TV as being the most damaging.
No, I think that that Instagram is the worst.
Oh, more than YouTube.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I do. I think so. I think, and it's because, I mean, it's because like any Joe Schmo can just post any kind of gnarly content on there, and it seems to have more like interaction. It has more reach than like YouTube does, if that makes sense. Like it's so much more like available because it's like
Yeah.
smaller clips, right? Where
Yeah.
it just, yeah, and I think, but like, yeah, I mean, if I could, I'd get rid of, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube in terms of the hunting, like getting rid of hunting content on those, and then, but like the reason why I think that the mainstream, like the Outdoor Channel, Sportsman's Channel, isn't as bad is there's regulations that they have to follow in order to get their stuff aired. So
Oh,
there's like
so it's not
certain
as disgusting.
yeah, like you don't have like you don't have like people like on Instagram walking up and grabbing a pig and stabbing in the heart. And it's like, I understand that happens. I understand people. I know of people that run pigs with dogs, but like you don't need to why take a video of it, post it so that anyone can see it and use it against like the hunting population.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. Um, what else you got?
well, what else do you want to know?
You said that you tell me the story you started telling me about when they started filming on various farms, when
Oh
Realtree
yeah,
started filming on various farms,
yeah,
like the
yeah,
demand, like leased farms, right? Like
yeah.
that were leased by outfitters. The demand to hunt on those farms went up so dramatically that they ended up um, compromising the whitetail herds.
Yeah, well, on that farm, yeah. So I found either an article that David Blanton, who I don't know if he still works for Realtree or not, but he did work for Realtree, and he might still work for Realtree. But I found an interview or an article that he did where he said they experienced, outfitters that had exceptional hunting areas. They would get greedy after appearing in their Monster Bucks films, and then the
Because they
outfitter.
have everybody, all these hunters banging down their door.
Oh, banging down the door. Yeah, you get your property on Monster Bucks, and in the '90s, everyone's getting those VHS tapes, and they're just banging down the door because they want to come hunt whitetails on this place that, Bill Jordan or David Blanton or whoever went and hunted whitetails on. And the outfitter, I mean, this is David Blanton said that the outfitter overbooked, overhunted, and over harvested their limited resource, and the operation declined.
Oh, so a few years after they filmed Monster Bucks, you can't even, you can only find like a Forky at best.
Sure, yeah. And he
Hmm.
would, um there was time there. He also said that Realtree had been the victim of some outfitters inviting them out, right, to come out and, yeah, come out and shoot and do a Monster Bucks video out here. And Realtree stated that they were disappointed in the abundance of game from some outfits. So like these outfits were like, they were so interested in getting their property
Highlighted.
on these videos, yeah,
Yeah.
that they were like, hey, come, making all kinds of promises that, then you go out and you go, you don't have anything. Like, where are what are we hunting for?
Oh
So,
man.
kind of in both cases, a little bit of like the victim of your own sort of success in
Yeah.
that. But um they in the early 90s, Bill Jordan and David Bland were invited. This is also from another from an interview or an article that was written where they were invited to hunt a ranch in Texas. And the owners of the ranch, I'm not going to say the name of the ranch right now, but the owners of the ranch expressed some interest in starting an outfitting business,
Why
and then they
not?
invited. Well, I guess I mean it is public because it is out there. It was the Encinitas Ranch. I mean, anyone can go find this article. It was the
Okay.
Encinitas Ranch, and
Is that's
they
a
wanted.
famous whitetail deer hunting ranch?
I guess so. I mean, if they're talking to Realtree in the early 90s, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess they are.
Hmm.
The ranch anyway, so they expressed interest in starting an outfitting business, and they invited Realtree for promotion. So the ranch, the way they used to hunt down, I guess this is in South Texas, was they'd get in a big truck, and they'd get these, tall platforms on top of the truck. And then you'd get up in the truck and you'd be looking over all the brush and in the little pockets, driving along the road, looking for, deer. Like that's how they hunted
That's
down
how
in
they
South
hunted,
Texas. That's how they hunted. That's the way they did. They get in these, and then
like a tree stand on a truck.
a tree stand on a truck, yeah, moving tree stand, right?
Uh,
So and Blanton said in an article said that this wasn't conducive to filming, so they bought tripod stands to hunt in instead. And then he boasts that Realtree changed existing hunting styles to make videoing a priority.
what an accolade!
Yeah,
What an accomplishment!
so we're gonna change the way they've hunted for 70 years because we want a video.
I mean, it's and there's a case to be made that they made it hunting on that ranch less cheesy. I mean, riding around
Yeah.
a top of a truck. That would be fun, though. I wouldn't consider it hunting. I mean, there's
I
just
try not.
I just say there's a lot of things that are hunting adjacent that I'm just not willing to call hunting, like driving around on the top of a truck. Like, but it'd be kind of fun. You're way up high. You could be like in a seat. You could have a drink, looking
Yeah,
around. You
yeah.
know?
You're cruising around. I mean, I try not to get too like I try not to have too many opinions on that kind of thing because it's like they've developed a way to hunt this property that works for them, right? Like that's like for whatever reason, geographically or the topography or the brush or whatever makes this the most effective way for them to hunt. So it's like I try not to get too in, have too much of an opinion on, well, that's not like the proper way to hunt. It's like if I don't want to hunt that way, I just won't go hunt that
Yeah, you can. I'm sanctimonious enough about that stuff for the both of us, so you don't
way.
you don't have to be holier than thou too. I just can't imagine like going, oh, I'm going to pay this guy to ride on top of his truck and shoot a deer.
Right.
It's just, would you?
No, I wouldn't pay a guy, but I mean, if I'm going to be totally honest with you, I've definitely done some hunting out of a truck. I mean, where I'm at in
Oh yeah, I've
California,
shot some bunnies out of a truck.
I mean, I mean, here in California where I'm at, a lot of the places, not all the places, but a lot of the places that I hunt, that's the most effective way to find
Road
deer.
hunting. Oh
That's the most effective way to find deer. And it's not necessarily, I mean, sure, when you're driving from spot to spot, you're going to see deer, but mostly I'm checking spots. So I'm driving to this spot and then I'm doing a little hike or I'm getting up on a glassy point and I'm checking a spot. Then I'm getting back in the truck, going to
yeah,
the next
I've
one,
shot stuff like that.
And
I
I'm going to be honest, I've
I've
shot,
shot stuff like that. I've shot
yeah,
deer and antelope like that. There's
yeah,
just a difference between I'm out with my buddy and we're going from spot to spot. Oh, there was one. Let's see if we can get in the borrow pit and sneak up on it.
yeah,
And paying high dollars to go on some ranch and ride on a stranger's roof.
yeah, yeah.
It's just, I wouldn't, I guess I wouldn't do it for free.
Okay.
If I wouldn't do it if it was free. I don't know
Right.
why. I do know why. It's just not. It's not. It's just I like to get the thing myself.
Yeah, it's not what you're interested in. I get it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I
you
like to
turkeys.
feel like when I shoot it that I did it myself.
Yeah. I mean, it's not your thing. I understand. Like it's like me with turkeys. I'm just not really all that interested in hunting turkeys. I have
I
nothing
don't
against
understand
turkeys.
how you can not be into turkey hunting. Like the one you shot, did you call it in?
Yeah, I called there was I mean, I'm gonna be I knew nothing about turkey hunting. So I just kind of like, I went out and I actually shot it with my bow too. Um
What?
yeah,
And it was gobbling and its head was all purple and red and
well, there was three of them and they were fighting each other as they were coming in.
oh, if that didn't grab you, then it's just not for you.
It's just not for me. Yeah, it's just not for me. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was like the experience was cool, but I've never been like, oh, I got to go do that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, um,
I found this spot last year when I was elk hunting where there's a bunch of turkeys and it's about a 4 mile hike. So I'm going to go and set up a turkey camp with my llamas this spring.
oh, see, yeah, I mean, that's a lot, right? You're going taking llamas in, you're going packing in for
Oh,
turkeys.
I wouldn't have to make it that hard. I could shoot my turkeys 2 miles outside of town. It's just for
Yeah,
the adventure of it, you know?
right. I could see myself getting into turkeys a little bit more. I mean, that they're the there's not a lot of turkeys around where I'm at that are on public land. There is a few small places, but most of them are on private land. And how much you might know, how much do you think a turkey in California, approximately how much you think a turkey hunt is?
Like, how much does it cost to buy the tag?
No, how much would it be to go on an outfitted turkey hunt in California?
Oh, 1,500 bucks.
Yeah, it's like 12 to 1,500 bucks.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that kind of turns me off a little bit.
Oh God, I would rather if I was over there in the spring, I'd rather crack a beer and watch some Real Tree VHS tapes with you.
Yeah. I don't- I mean, I would never pay for a turkey hunt, but I mean, because people are willing to pay that, I don't know exactly how much opportunity there really is for a guy to just knock on the door. I mean, I've never had anyone. I know a lot of people that own property. I've never had anyone say, "Hey, why don't you come hunt turkeys on on my place?" I mean, the turkey that I killed, it was on my grandma and grandpa. They own 60 acres, like 15 miles from me. They've passed away, but they I that's where I went. And my grandma wasn't actually she actually never allowed hunting on the place. Even for me, she wouldn't even
You
allow it. But
trespassed?
I wouldn't say I trespassed. What happened was they were going on like a 2 week trip and I was helping taking care of their animals and things like that. And I asked my grandpa before he left, I said, "Hey, do you mind if I hunt turkeys?" Because it was turkey season. I go, "Do you mind if I hunt turkeys?" He's like, "Yeah, just don't tell your grandma. You're fine."
Okay, that's
So
cool. That's
yeah.
cool. Is that still in the family?
No, unfortunately, it's no. They my before my grandma passed away, she had to sell it because she couldn't keep up with it, and so she ended up selling it, and then she moved for 4 or 5 years, and then last year she passed away. So
How far? Where do you live in California?
I don't know how specific I want to get, but I'll say I live in
Wait,
San
what?
Luis Obispo.
What really?
Okay,
Like, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I don't know. I just
Like, I live at
like I said,
26 Herzog Road in Miles City, Montana.
yeah, I
Zip
live in
code 59301. Like, what?
I don't know,
Okay,
just like
I'm not trying. I don't know if you're not comfortable saying what town you live in. That's fine.
I'll say it. I'll say I live in Atascadero, California.
Okay. How many people live in that town?
About 30,000.
Oh, so it's going to take the your killer a few minutes to track you down.
Yeah, I'll take a little bit. Yeah, but I live, and then it's in.
I know. I'm curious about this impulse. You just
What?
thought by talking to me in a public conversation. You're putting yourself at risk.
No, it has nothing to do with you. It has
Oh,
nothing to do with you or the podcast. It just has everything to do with like I'm not super interested in putting the place that I live, where my
on
family lives,
blast. Okay.
on out in the internet.
How far away from LA are you?
I'm exactly in between LA and San Francisco. So LA is 3 hours south. San
Okay.
Francisco is 3 hours north. It's pretty much exactly in the middle.
Okay. Man, those
So,
fires were freaking horrible.
oh yeah, yeah.
Have you
I mean,
seen any? Have you seen any of that?
well,
You haven't
not
gone
like
down
in
there.
person. No, no, no. I don't have any. I don't have any reason. I don't have any reason or desire to go to LA for anything, even before the fires.
Oh,
I try to avoid. I mean, the last time I was in San Francisco was uh like 4 or 5 years ago, and I never need to go back. I
oh,
did. There's not like there's nothing for me there. Like
yeah.
I grew up in a small. It's a small-ish town, it's 30,000 people, and the county that I live in is pretty large, and there's like 200 and something thousand people in the county, and then you go to LA, and there's 10 million people that live in the city limits of LA, and I'm like, or in the county or wherever, and I'm just like, there's nothing for me here,
Yeah. Yeah. I went to um San Francisco 6 or 8 years ago and had a freaking blast. But I guess that town has really gone downhill. Have you heard
Yeah,
that?
I mean, what were you?
Is that your perception?
Well, I don't
Just in
have a
terms of
great.
like destitute people and homelessness.
I would say that's California kind of in general. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
we're gonna get off track here, but 50%. I think 50. I think I saw a number the other day that was 50% of the homeless population of the United States lives in California.
Oh, wow. Wow. Uh
It's really sad.
Nairobi, I think there's like 5 million people in Nairobi, and 1.2 million of them live in a tenement, in a slum.
Really.
We went past it. It's like on this big hill. We were opposite the hill and it goes for miles.
So
Just
1.2 million people live in this one location.
that's a slum
Whoa.
that's embedded in the town. It, it is crazy. Just tin roofs, propped up with uh, pallets and crap like that. It
Right.
it is it it is crazy how um poor it is. You know how many sheriffs there are in LA County?
How many deputy sheriffs?
Yeah.
Oh, I would imagine a couple thousands. I don't know.
I think there's 18,000.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? 18,000 sheriff's deputies.
I mean, that's like if you took all the sheriff's deputies, you'd be 2/3 of the way to the population of the town that I live in.
Yeah. It,
So
I, oh, okay. No, I'm getting a different number 10,000,
oh,
but still, that's huge.
10,000,
Yep.
10,000 deputy sheriffs.
9,972 sworn deputies in Los Angeles County. I remember reading an article a few years ago where there's sheriff gangs. It's like really corrupt. There are
Oh,
there are gangs. The membership is comprised entirely of people from the sheriff's department.
oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Oh, so like an organized crime type of situation, but it's a deputy sheriff. It's deputy sheriffs.
yeah.
Oh,
So maybe they do a little law enforcement when it suits their fancy. Uh, a little racketeering once in a while, sell some drugs, whatever.
I don't know. I would be interested in reading that article and figuring that out. I mean, it seems
This was
I don't
like
know.
this was like in the Atlantic Monthly or Harper. I mean, this was It was a really well researched piece. It was not bullshit.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's scary, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to think of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's we live in kind of an Orwellian dystopian time in some respects. I think things are going to be fine eventually. It's just things are a little crazy right now.
Well, I was talking to someone about that, and we're like, again, we're getting off topic. We can bring it back if you want.
No, I'm
Well,
done talking about Realty Tree. Fuck those guys.
all right, cool, perfect. I was talking to somebody though. I think it was someone I work with, and we were talking about like how the world's coming to an end. It's all going to shit. The whole thing. And I go, and I think I wonder if people during the dark ages were sitting around looking around going, man, the world's going to shit and it's never going to come back. It's never going to be, you know what I mean?
I bet
It's
they
like,
were.
but, yeah, but my point is that then it did come back. It did come around. There was
Yo,
prosperity
yeah.
there.
Oh,
So,
yeah. It
but
can
like,
feel pretty desperate and still self-correct.
yeah,
Yeah. I read this. You know that book, Adams, that biography of John Adams?
no,
It was kind of a popular book when it first came out. I'm trying to remember who wrote it. Um, David McCullough. He died a few years ago. I've read several of his books. He's got one called 1776. It's about the first year of the Revolutionary War.
yeah, I read that.
Oh, you did? That book was
I read
fantastic.
I read something. It's been a long time. It's been at least 15 years ago. I couldn't speak I couldn't have an educated
Right.
conversation about it, but I do remember enjoying that.
Oh, but so anyway, with Adams, just the civil unrest in the like 1780s
Mm-hmm.
was unbelievable.
Oh
The way
yeah.
that the newspapers would write about their politicians, just this nasty, scathing stuff. And there was almost a revolution, a couple of them, one by a group of farmers organized and almost tried to revolt, and then there was some other revolt. There was It was bad. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think in addition to the dark ages, I think you could look back to the founding of our country, and there's a period where it was by by any reasonable measure was pretty messed up, you know.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, multiple, right? Like, I mean, it's yeah. I just picked the Dark Ages. That's the one that it just sounded good at the time.
Right,
But yeah,
right.
it's just constant. There's always that up and down, and it's all regional, right? Like you might be doing great in your region of the world or whatever, and then in some other region, it's like it's like, well, this is hell on earth.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy that our country had all of that turmoil right after the Revolutionary War. You would think there'd be like a lot of esprit de corps right then.
See, but I think
A lot of unity, you know.
it makes a lot of sense actually why there would be so much unrest and so much like turbulence during that time. Because like think
Did I say the
about
Civil War? I meant the Revolutionary War. I always freaking do
I
that,
don't know
but
what you said, but
yeah.
I knew what you meant, the
Okay.
Revolutionary War. But I because I mean think about like you think about what they did, right? You think about like what they did. They like waging war against at that time what was like the premier military power of the world.
Yeah.
And then winning, but then you've gained your independence and now you're like, okay, now we have to create our own government. We did it. Like that was the in a way it didn't feel like it at the time, but that might have actually winning the Revolutionary War was probably the easy part. Establishing a government right?
from
Like that's the
scratch.
hard
Yeah.
work from scratch.
Yeah. And there was a lot of very different opinions about how it should go. Yeah.
Oh, you had very large majority of the population that didn't think that we should be our own country
Right.
and fought for the other side.
Right. Right.
Yes, I mean, I think it actually makes a lot of sense the amount of turbulence that they experienced,
Yeah,
after the
no,
revolutionary.
it does. It does. There's just a part of me that thinks that it would have been a real hand-holdy time. We're like, well, we got through that, guys. Let's put our heads together and come up with a system of governance that works. But
Yeah,
obviously it didn't go that way. All right, my friend. That was a great discussion, but I think I'm gonna peace out and go make me all talking about deer got me thinking maybe I'll go make me a venison burger.
yeah. Maybe find a Monster Bucks video you could throw on the VHS player.
I'd have to find a VHS player.
Yeah, no, it's a good talk, and if there's things that we want to bring up in the future, like I said, I got more research. We can always talk about it again in the future if
Oh
we need
yeah.
to.
Well, if it's up to me, you'll be a frequent guest.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be.
All
So
right.
we'll
Awesome.
talk soon.
Okay. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.